How you doing, everybody? I guess this will be our Halloween horror show. Um, Today we're going to share stories, our horror stories about what has happened. What's your biggest horror story, or at least your most interesting one? Um, I I hope I have something you haven't heard or I haven't told you. Anyway, well, first of all, the sound and the video okay? Everybody, hello, hello. Are you there? Somebody say something quickly. We have, I tell you, something spooky's going on. Oh, hi, Henry. Hi. Hi, Clyde. Oh, good. The sounds, everything's working. Great. Great. Javier, all is well. Good. Junior, good to see you. Football fan. Oh, boy. We're in for it again tomorrow. Uh, I think we're fated. Hi, Mike. How are things in Glasgow? Brian, good afternoon. I feel somehow that I should have everything should be dark and scary right now since we're going to talk about horror stories. Okay, Rancher, this was your idea. I really want to hear what is your biggest horror story, Clyde. You've been around watches long enough that you ought to have quite a few. Anyway, hi Paul. Anybody want to kick off their greatest horror story? Not, I mean, I'm the one with horror stories. Okay, well let me start off with this horror story. Okay, this is my Beauvais 1930 Fluier, Beauvais 1822. Okay, hi Watch Gang. And what happened on this one was really a trip. It started off really good. There was a friend of mine knew somebody in Germany who would sell it and this and that, and somehow I got a really good buy on it. Okay, to make a long story short, had this great buy. So, they shipped it, and it was brand new, and it was, in fact, the 1930. It may have been the same year it came out because it was pretty new, and there weren't a lot of these. And at the last minute, I had uh, been convinced to get they have two models. One's called the Fleurier, and the other one's called the Demier. I wanted the Demier because it had the sort of the standard connection here, the lugs, the standard lugs, and the other one had this bow and crown and then a bar lug at the bottom. But Richard convinced me. He said, if you're going to get a watch like that, get the one with all of the fancy stuff. So I did. So anyway, I got the tracking number and everything. I think it was FedEx, and I'm not positive, but I think it was FedEx or DHL. It was one of them. So the watch is coming along. Is the it was on its way, and they stopped it at customs, and they said, sometimes it must have been FedEx because they're always vague about what's going on. Well, it turned out that it was a strap. It was a gator strap, and they apparently, even though they said it was sites, it wasn't sites. So I told them, I said, well, just send it back then. And then I told the people on the other end, I said, look, just send the strap separately, and then if they stop it again, that's all I'll lose, and then ship the watch. So I didn't hear anything. Then I got this was email. I think it was no, it wasn't an email. It was a WhatsApp note. It says, we're going to get your watch to you." Like, okay. And so it said, so I was in touch with this guy, and I went back and forth and back and forth. And I got a call, and the guy said, "We're in New York with your watch. Could you come down and get it right away?" Now, it's a 3-hour trip into New York from where we are. It was an hour drive down to New Haven and then 2 hours on Metro North into Grand Central. So it was around 11 o'clock. It was sort of in the middle of the day. And I thought, oh boy. So hopped in my car, drove down to New Haven, hopped on the next Metro North, and then went in. And then I said, well, could you meet me at Grand Central, and I'll just turn around and come home. And he said, I'll contact you when you get there. So then he said, could you come down to 25th Street? And 25th Street, now, Manhattan is pretty easy in the sense of you have avenues going one direction, and I think they go whatever I say, it'll be the opposite. I think they go east to west, and then streets go north to south. Well, Grand Central is on 42nd Street. It's actually between great big thing between 42nd, and if you go out the back way, you're on 45th. So it's a pretty good sized building. So here we are on 42nd. Well, that's a long walk, and some of you may not. I'm no spring chicken, but it was for a watch. So I I start walking down toward the address, and then I get another direction. I mean, this is like sort of like you're paying ransom or something. So I get pretty close to where the guy's supposed to be with my watch. And then I get another thing that says, well, stop right there. Stop right where you are. So I did. And then all of a sudden, this guy comes out of nowhere. And he said, what's your name? And I tell him, he says, what's my name? I said, I don't know what your name is. He said, well, who did you contact? And so I told him. And then on the final one, he said, and then you contacted him. I said, I contacted you. You were my last contact, because I thought this was the guy who's some name he had given me. And the look on his face was, oh, yeah, that's right. So he handed me the watch, and I swear to God, he disappeared. I mean, it was like, he handed me the watch. It was in this really nice velvet case. The box and everything I think had been shipped separately to me. So here I got so here I had this in this velvet case, really nice little pouch, I guess. So this is my watch, and the guy disappeared just as quickly. I have no idea how the whole thing was set up, but apparently, I guess somebody was coming over here. They just had somebody acting as a courier. But I mean, like well, anyway, that's not much of a horror story because it turned out so well. So let's see what you guys have. Okay, Junior, biggest horror story. I got my watch stolen. Oh God, yeah. That's a bad one, Junior. What happened? Junior, are you there, Junior? Oh wow. Oh, and now you got it back. Okay, well, mine was that I got mine. Okay, let's see what you got. Marco, the Marco, former partner of TPG, the something gentleman, forgot what it was called, met me for coffee, caught the mistake, and set me right. Crisis narrowly averted. Okay, that is a pretty good one. Okay. Okay, thanks, Brian. Yeah, the avenues north and south, streets east and west. And I never can tell east and west when I'm there. Usually I'm really good with directions and navigation and everything, but not in Manhattan. Let's see, narrowly escaped getting some vintage redials passed off as original and authentic. Yeah, Paul. The thing of it is that I don't know who did it. I have no idea how the whole thing was initiated, and nobody was telling me what it was. And here I am. I'm running. I was walking. I must have walked 50 blocks in that thing. Puffed out. But it's really funny. The motivation when when a watch collector is motivated by a watch, you don't think about that. One of my narrowest ones, narrow disaster. I was on I just picked up my FP Journe from a dealer on 99 on 49th Street, 47th Street on 47th Street. Had my had my watch. Went up to the boutique, the FP Journe boutique when it was up on Madison Avenue. Got a new band. They even put the band on for me. So on the way home with this, and the I had it on, and the thing popped out and hit the floor. There was, and that was on the on Metro North. Floors, I think it was a metal floor or something. No, it was okay, but that was almost a disaster. I finally got it going. I mean, I got it set so it wouldn't fall out anymore. Okay, narrowly escaped getting some vintage. Oh yeah, the readouts had that one. Okay, good thing I got it. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, Junior, you had it stolen. You got it back. How did that all happen? Hey, Robert, how did that all go down? Um. Oh, here's one I avoided. This was one I think I've told you guys about. This one this is like a while back. This is way before the war in Ukraine. There was a dealer there, and at the time I was looking for a resonance watch, and this guy had a really good price. It was like 30, I think, or something, or 20 something for the resonance watch. And so I thought, okay, this sounds like a great deal. So so we got he said, well, what we'll do, he said, send half, and then then the other half when I get to New York, or when the watch is delivered to New York. He said it's coming over by courier. And well, it turned out to be the courier was uh, a airline stewardess on Ukrainian airline or something like that. And he wanted me to meet her and give her, well, you're talking about, a lot of money in cash, something like, around $15,000 in cash. I was supposed to show up, give to this airlines to, the thing of it is, customs for watches coming into the U.S. just doesn't make it worth it. The only reason anybody'd want to smuggle anything into the U.S. is very poorly administered CITES laws. I mean, are just because they get mad at FedEx holding up on anything they can dream up. But other than that, there's really not a lot of point to smuggle watches in the US unless they're, phony watches. But, that was one I didn't take. Okay, hey, Truman. See, am I understanding correctly that you Americans can't buy or import alligator straps because one of the most durable and nicest are alligator skins of both outer and Truman, yeah, it's not that. What happens is that Sites, is the one that makes the decision, and they have this paperwork. Well, apparently, if I go to if I get my watch band through ABP Concepts Paris, I get them right from Paris, and they send them to me, and let me see. So this is one of them, ABC Concepts. They come straight from Paris. Apparently, they have sort of a standard kind of paperwork all set up, and so all the paperwork is correct on these things because they're selling gator straps. And for the easiest thing that they could do, and I wish, and because paperwork, you can fake paperwork easier than anything. But all they would have to do is to have a little chip. They could put a little chip in these bands, and then when you get and then if it's they could put one of those wands they use on you when you go through TSA. So you know, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a wrong channel. Is right. I let it out of my bath. I left it on my bathroom sink, and and I suppose and a supposed friend stole it. Another friend of mine I know had it and got it back. Oh, that was easy, very easy. Hi, Caesar, how you doing? There was this one guy I know who had I think it was an Audemars Piguet. It was stolen out of a hotel safe. Those safe they have in hotel rooms. Apparently, I mean, you might as well put it in a bread box for all the good they do. Apparently, they're very easy to crack, and so that I always use them anyway. Same thing on if you go on a cruise, you have the same kind of safe. I've got one too, but it was really funny. My safe was delivered, and a guy had a dolly, and he had the safe on the dolly. Put the safe on a dolly, delivered it, and I'm thinking, so, if it's we have a dolly out there. If we have several dollies for different things. My wife carting garden stuff around with it. They could put the safe on a dolly. They wouldn't even have to bring their own because we'd supply it for them, and they cart it off on that. That's why the bank vault's the only place I really feel safe. When you leave town, bank vault's a pretty good place. Okay, so let's see. Theft. You see what other horror stories? Uh, I may have one going on right now. I'll find out later on, and I can tell you about it. But I'd rather not say anything at this moment. There's always a new one. Okay, who else has had it? You guys sound like you're a lot smarter than I am. I in terms of taking a chance. Um, Trying to think of anything else of all of my watches. Oh, I think I mentioned one this morning that I had. This guy in I don't know what he's up to. Some guy in Poland wasn't doing the right thing. Had another guy in Australia at one time was trying to sell me one that didn't exist and was you know had done a pretty good job of it. But there was a certain point where I knew something was wrong and wouldn't go with it. Um, One of the other things that happens, of course, is when, what we were talking about earlier today is that the horror story is when you've ordered something from an AD. Oh, was that the Elegante? I heard it was. Yeah, I heard different stories about that. If this is Truman, is this Brit's watch? I've heard different stories about that. I'd like to hear. I mean, that is a horror story if I've ever heard one. From what I understand, her husband or somebody picked up an Elegante and somehow between the car and the thing disappeared. Yeah, with her husband, yeah, and I'm not sh I tell you, I'm not sure how that would have happened unless they'd have to physically take it off me, but then I also heard that it fell in between the seats and, they found it. I don't know, what's the thing? Uh Suleiman, Hassim, do you know any more about that? But boy, I tell you, that would have been I mean, it would have been like me and that, FP Journe on the train when I could have been going between cars, and the thing fell off and then fell down through the track, but good God, I tell you, that would have really been or, where it says, "Watch the gap," or "Mind the gap," and whit right through the gap it could have gone. Suleiman, do you know any more about that story? From what I heard, he picked it up and went for lunch and thought also of having a snack peek at it, and it had gone? A sneak peek at it? Good God. I know he's got a very nice Havana, um, but God, I'll tell you, that's I wouldn't have let something like that out of my sight. I just I just would wear it though with a band that it would fall off of. Let me see. Picked it up. Uh, it was a present for his wife. When he looked in the bag again, it wasn't there. Aha. So that sounds like a story somebody would tell their wife. Oh my dear, I got you this great watch. Something happened to it. So who knows what happened to that 20,000? I've worn the Havana as well, a beautiful watch. His one, yeah. No, that was a story of Mark's story where he had to deal with the AD to get one, and the guy sold it to somebody else. Um, Trying to think, you know, uh, this one that I had, I got this watch. It was a Parmigiani Colpa, and I had it, and it was always slow. But I'd gotten a really good buy on it, and I figured, well, I'll just wait until it stops or something, then I'll send it in. And so it did. The stem came out, and so I sent it in for to have it serviced. They did such a good job that the service center in Miami, which is also the area where FP Journe has their service center, um, that that was, that could have been a disaster. It wasn't though. For some reason, yeah, I guess I've you guys know Mike Margolis, don't you? He's a rep for Chopec in the U.S. and whenever I go to a watch show, there's old Mike is working away on at the Chopek booth, and a super nice guy. And he doesn't live far from where I do, and we see each other every now and then. And there was something being shipped to him on FedEx from Miami, and somebody stole it, and it was disappeared. Boy, I tell you, this is FedEx is really funny about insurance too. I know that when you ship a watch, they're very strange about it. Let me put it that way. So some of them won't insure it more than $100 or something. So that's another nightmare like to avoid. Hey, Chili Burger. How's Brighton? Chili, we're talking about horror stories. I'll tell you one. It's going on right now. Hi, Tuna. How you doing? I got this wonderful watch, a really great watch, and this was my Chanel Monsieur. Okay, got a good price on it, and it was everything I was hoping it would be. Everything about that watch I just love. I must have had it for about not a month, and what would happen every now and then, the hour wouldn't jump on the hour, or it would jump at a funny time. And so I could scoot around, and then it was fine for a while, and then it would do this again. And so finally it was started doing it again and again. Now, I got a good buy on that watch, but it was still expensive. Those things are the new ones. If you go out and you buy a new one, are 42,000, and in the white gold model is anyway. So, and I paid a good deal for it, but nowhere near 40,000 now. So it is now getting fixed. No, but here's the thing this is really what the horror story is. A friend of mine got one. He said, "How do you like it?" I said, "I love it." So he got one. He just ran into the same problem. And so he said, it sounds like a design flaw. Now, if you have a watch with a fundamental design flaw, and Chanel's got lots of money, shouldn't they fix it without any kind of bill? The horror story is going to come when I took it in, they said it'll be back in 6 months. I don't mind that so much because of this reason. I'm trying to think what one it came with all of the paperwork, everything with it. And so I know the date and everything. And it was about, I don't know, it was about the time that a good watch would have service anyway. So again, it didn't drive me crazy. But then when it happened, and I had not heard anybody have that problem before. And then the only other person I know who got one had the same problem. So this is my horror story. Now I got to wait. I took it down to Chanel. There's only in New York City, there's, I don't know how many Chanel boutiques. They can't have just one. They have to have several. And then I was told when I talked to the person on the phone before I went there, I called and I said, which boutique do I take it to? I said, can I take it in? Oh, no, you got to go to this boutique. So I went to the boutique. It was up around 57th, I think, and off of 5th. And so I went there. My friend and I went, and they were very, very nice to us. And so the boutique itself didn't look that big. I mean, it was, I guess, big enough. And they had these two guards outside. They have these guys they look like, if they were wearing something else, they look like bouncers in a tough bar. But they're dressed in these black suits and tie, and and you go in, and they have a welcome like hello, like a kind of thing. Brian, you'll appreciate this. There's a certain kind of a desk sergeant who has, "Can I help you?" Like it's sort of rather than say, "What the do you want?" They do it in such a way like, "Uh-oh," that was rather than the most pleasant way they can think of. Oh, hey Thomas, what's up? Oh, let me see. Oh, the my ongoing horror stories, the one again we talked about this morning was these finding phony, not what we expected. When I got this watch, I got it from this shop in Amsterdam, and so the I kept having trouble setting the moon phase, so I sent it back to him, and for someone had said it's got a Soprod A10 in it as the base movement. Well, I love Soprod A10s. As a matter of fact, I went and bought one. Soprod A10 is based on or is a clone of, I'm not quite exactly sure. It has the same dimensions as a 2824, some popular ETA that half the watches in the world had, but this is not the same. It's not a clone of it. The only thing they did, they made it to the same size. So if somebody wanted to put it in a case for a 28, whatever it is, they could do it without a problem. And so, but it wasn't an ETA. It's based on a 4L from Seiko, and that was Seiko's attempt to get into their first attempt to go into high horology. It didn't go over well, and so they put it in. They tried it out. They try the Swiss market with the Soprod A10. One of my favorite watchmakers, JS. It's either JS or JNS. They're a little watchmaker in Iceland, and they used them too, and some other really cool ones. But it's a great movement. So when they told me it had a Soprod A10 in here, not a problem. Well, I found out later that it wasn't a Soprod A10. It's an ETA, and it's apparently it must be a really good ETA because this sucker keeps fantastic time. Then it's got a Christian Vanderklaw module on top of it. But that's just drives me up the wall when when I got my Chaumet, Artie Danny or Dandy Artie. It's another one. I knew it had an ETA movement, and then on top of that were these Agenor gearing, and that was what I got it for. But that's sort of my horror story. That's sort of an ongoing one with certain watches, even though I like the watch, and the movement does a great job. So anyhow, okay, guys. Oh yeah, so proud of it, so proud. JS Watch Company, that's the one, Brian. Yeah. You got to show me, Brian. Someday you got to show me how to do that, desk sergeant. Can I help you? Anyhow, guys, listen. Have a great Halloween. Hope you have a good one. And by the way, tomorrow is a very weird day because the Europeans and probably the rest of the world goes on standard time, while the U.S. will still be on daylight time. It's either that or the other way around. Yeah, I think tomorrow they go into daylight time and we're still in standard. So everything's going to be all mixed up tomorrow. Anyhow. Oh, found a Moser Rose. Oh, addition, my credit card account had been compromised. The owner of the watch said it was a scam, so he wouldn't deal with me. Oh my God. That is a horror story. I had another. That reminds me of one I had with a guy who he had to go to jail. Poor guy. Anyway, guys, take care. See you next week or sooner.